Welcome to the channel. Just wanted to say hello, pop on for a little bit. Been kind of a hectic couple of weeks with the start of the semester, different things going on with classes. I'm working hard to get the next module out on my class, but also been testing quite a few devices and been talking through especially the Supernote Digest, which was something that I've been working a long time on. I'm waiting for that to come out. Just wanted to hop on, do a Q&A. If you all have any questions, I've been testing out a lot of devices here recently. As you all know, I have relationships with the companies in that they send me some devices. No sponsorship whatsoever. I'm really kind of privileged in that way because I would not myself be buying multiple devices, primarily because in my work and in my line of work, I don't really have that kind of expendable income. For those who do, that's great. But the big reason I think I get a lot of these devices is because I'm an academic by training, but I've been a retail manager. I've been a banker. I've done human resources. I've done a lot of things that revolve around organization and keeping yourself organized and really kind of leading change management in different scenarios and contexts. And I kind of present that if a company asks me if they can send me a device and tell them this is the context you're going to get. I'm going to use my current workday context, whether that's grading papers, whether that's organizing meetings, whether that's doing faculty development around technology. And, as part of my teaching, I also do teaching in human resource development, leadership, everything from change management to foundations. And so I do a lot of stuff. And then I do research on top of all of that. And that's what led to if you all haven't watched it, watch my deep dive into the digest feature of the Supernote. It is a very long video. I did chapter it out. It's a total of 29 chapters. So there's a lot going on in that video because to me, from a research perspective, that was huge. Working on a video and a blog post now on using the ViWoods AI paper for an institute that we started on artificial intelligence last week, or I should say we participated in. It was with the American Association for Colleges and Universities, and Valpo was a part of that. So I tried to use just that device for that 2-day intensive and some early thoughts on it. Like I said, I'm writing a blog post on it, and I'm also going to do a video on it. Overall, the writing experience on that device was very good. It really had a good feel to it. I used the felt nib, which did spin pretty fast. I will say that it was starting to fray into the first day, but the feel and the actual responsiveness of the ViWoods tablet was excellent. I did find myself a little bit constrained by having to use the meeting note, which is one of those things that, it's just a limitation of their systems. They have a paper note and they have a meeting note. And with the meeting note, you get the ability to be able to summarize or do a meeting minutes function for up to 5 pages. And kind of a mixed thought about that. One, it's really cool that you can do that, and it provides a decent bulleted list function, but only comes out in text or HTML, and it's only 5 pages. So I found myself trying to keep myself to 5 pages, which isn't necessarily the best way when you're in the mindset of trying to take notes, to be constantly thinking, am I going to go over 5 pages? And by the second day, I had just left that behind. And I figured, well, I'll do 5 pages and then maybe I'll see if I can do custom page export after that. We can talk about, I've got the Boox Go 10.3 that I started daily driving today. I have the ViWoods AI paper, like I mentioned. I've got the Supernote. I also used the Boox Max or the Note Max today and used it for something really specific. And Aaron at 2530 Media talks about the split screen, and on the Note Max, that is phenomenal. There was a little bit of a downside to that, but only when I tried to use the Go 10.3 as a companion device. And that was related specifically to the book note function. So in the book notes, it basically ties the PDF, in my case, to a note. Well, then when you sync that, it doesn't actually sync the PDF over in the Boox ecosystem. It only syncs the note. And so that caused me, and maybe I didn't store it in the right place and need to figure that out. But so I had a book note that didn't have that backlink or that PDF for me to open those side by side on the Go 10.3. So Parmesan has a question here. It says, I just got the Note Max to go with my 10.3. I see a lot of people complain about ghosting on the Note Max. What's your take on ghosting? I see it at times, but I don't think it's a deal. I would agree with you, Parmesan. I don't think it's a deal breaker, but it is there. Kip pointed this out a long time ago, and that's Kip Betts Masters for those of you who may be joining for the first time. He pointed out quite a while ago that the ghosting performance wasn't what you would expect, especially with BSR, which is the Boox Super Refresh technology on their devices. So it's there. It's definitely there. But I have a shortcut, and I just screen refresh. I can do that really easily on the Note Max, and I don't find it bothers me too much unless I'm going from like the app screen or a very text or not text, a very image heavy, whether it's the web, whether it's a book, and then going to a note, and that's where I kind of see it. It didn't really bother me when I was doing the split screen. And let me give you a little example of that use case that I was using it for. So part of what we have is a bunch of, we run a help desk for faculty, and I had to go through a bunch of tickets. So, I mean, we're talking months worth of help desk tickets. And the split screen with the book note was phenomenal for that, because what I could do was I had the PDF with all of these tickets on the left, and then I could take my notes on the right in the book note, and then I would just advance both of those. So I had the same number of pages with on both things, on the book note and on the PDF, and they mirrored when you opened that up. So I could take notes on the ticket on the left onto the notes on the right. And that was fabulous. I mean, it worked really well. It made that workflow so easy. Now, when I took that off and put it on the Go 10.3, the problem was I didn't have the PDF over there. And what I'm not sure about is if I do move the PDF manually over there, will that still keep that one-to-one relationship? I'm assuming it might with the Go 10.3 and the PDF, only because I kept the same number of pages. So if that makes sense. But it was a really great workflow. And what was really nice was taking those notes on that half screen made it so that when I took it to the Go 10.3, the scaling was almost perfect. It was really, really good. Are you referring to the pages matching up? I think it will, because I kept the same number of pages. I think what would be interesting to know, and that's the first time I've really used that at scale, but we were talking about 22 pages of PDF notes, and you've used that function more than I have, and so that's why I'm still learning it. And it was for what I needed it for, because I could see ticket, take notes, and then just advance both pages and then just keep going. And it allowed me to go through that very, very quickly. Now, I was using it on the Note Max, which I know is a larger device than what you have with the Go 10.3. But in case you didn't hear, when I went back out of that, those notes scaled beautifully down from the Note Max on the split screen view to the Go 10.3. You would almost think that I just wrote it on the Go 10.3. I would say it's probably a little less than twice the size, so probably 1.75, something like that, if you put those two tablets side by side. I'm getting into my briefcase here. The Note Max has to go in the briefcase. The others go in the back pocket of the briefcase. So let me pull this out, and I'll open it up. Let me see if I can get my top-down shot working. Yeah, Aaron's right. The scaling seems to have been improved with the update. Oh, and the 7-inch is doing well, scaling up to the 10.3. That's awesome to hear. I'm still not sold on the Go 10.7, or the, not 10.7, the Go 7. And maybe that's just me not being used to, Well, I'm not a Nomad fan either, and I shouldn't say I'm not a Nomad fan. I think the Nomad is absolutely great, but my form factor just doesn't support that. I really need, or my use case doesn't support that form factor. I really need to have that extra real estate. This is my Note Max. Here is my 10.3. So I'll turn this sideways so that you can see, and then I'll hold this down here. And as you can see, let me see if I can get that right on there. I believe that's exactly the screen. So you're looking at just a little more than half as wide and almost identical here. So that's the difference in the screen size. It's a pretty good overall feel, and the seamless nature of these two devices is really good. I actually enjoy them a lot in the use today. And this is when I first started actually driving those because I hadn't been as much. I tried to use the ViWoods, but with the ViWoods, the biggest issue on it was I ran into real limitations, not so much from a writing feel perspective. It was a joy to write on. But primarily because of the limitations in the Meetings app and how many pages you could export, and only being able to export the meeting minutes in either HTML or in text format. So that caused me a few issues. In the actual conversion of the meeting minutes, it was beautiful. It created tables and task lists and all of that. And of course, all of that was lost when it was actually exported because I only had those two choices. So those are just a couple of the things I ran into in trying to daily drive that last week for this Institute on AI that I was involved in. And that was a lot of note taking. I found myself trying to fit everything on 5 pages, which is not a good headspace to be in. And I quit that and started just taking notes like normal. And I was constantly going to 8, 9, 10 pages per session. And I think that's really the headspace you need to be in. And I think that might just be one of the limitations. Parmesan says, I love my Go 10.3. What I didn't like was I use a lot of custom templates to work. And when I print them out, looked like it was a kindergartner wrote really big. Yeah, I think scaling is a big deal. And especially depending on what you do. Like for me, right now, the Note Max could almost be an all device for me in some ways. I think that had it been where I started and had it been available when I started this whole journey, it may have been something that I would have seriously considered because of all of the things that it can do at scale. Especially with me grading papers and all of the different components that come with that, it's just really a good experience. The biggest thing for me right now is that now with the way the book notes, and Aaron has a great video on this, on how he uses the linking and the book notes and the split view and all of these different components in the Boox ecosystem to really kind of get a research setup for that. And I think that probably would have been a preferred workflow had Supernote not come out with the digest. And the digest tool is just so seamless across devices, pulls everything through, and it all travels. So whether you're in the desktop app, whether you're on the phone app, or whether you're on the device, it doesn't matter because all of your things move with you. And it's not just that it syncs your notes, it syncs everything. So every EPUB, every PDF, every file, every document, all of that in one contained ecosystem is a big deal. And then let's see here. Aaron says, yeah, for my long meeting notes, I use the 10.3. Yeah, and I still, quite frankly, don't use, if I'm just in a meeting with taking notes, I default to a 10.3 inch device. because it's just, well, I should say a 10.3 or a 10.65. So the ViWoods and the Supernote are both 10.65. And then, of course, the Go 10.3 is 10.3 inches. What you do notice are the two tablets here. And you will notice significantly the brighter screen of the Manta, which is here on the right. And then you've got on the left, you have the A5X. And what's nice about this is these are predominantly or mostly the same device functionally. Now, what you don't have is on the A5X, they've ended Kindle support for Android 8.1 and lower, and you don't have the InkFlow app. And then there's one digest feature you don't have, which is the Easter egg for the quote. So when I close this screen, I can get that nice little quote that pops up and gives you that inspiration. Now, the quotes do move and they come over here on the left, but they don't, there's no way to enable the carousel. It's not on this software update. Now, I've been told by Rada that they are working on that, and that what's going to happen at some point in the future is both InkFlow, and for those who don't know what InkFlow is, it is a way to turn your Supernote device into a Wacom tablet. So you can wire it in and you get, just like you would any other Wacom device in the old school tablets, where you can annotate and draw on the screen, use it as a drawing tablet, use it to write over PowerPoints, write over your screen, and it works really well. It's extremely responsive. And with the new updates to Atelier, it's made that even better for some of the things that you can do. Oh, you're getting the new Remarkable Pro Move? Awesome. I'm not a huge, it's not a device for me, but I've enjoyed seeing some of the content on it. And I think if you're in the Remarkable ecosystem, it makes a ton of sense. And I think that's kind of been the consensus out there. It also says, am I the only one who's had a hard time with the Supernote desktop app? It's far from seamless syncing for me. See, I can't say you're the only one, because I have no idea. I don't have a lot of issue with it. And I think David over at Tablet Tech actually did a really good job of saying what I've been saying for a long time the other day, which is I actually think there's a method to the madness behind the conflict files. So, and the reason I say that is he showed how you could take a couple of different devices on the Boox platform and write in different areas on the screen, and it would overwrite when those two files, and I think Remarkable did the same thing. It would overwrite the text on those files. So if you forget where you were writing on one device and you pick up writing in a margin and you wrote it on the other one. Now, to be fair, that was a constant sync in real time. And that's where Supernote struggles a lot as well. And someone in his comments said that you wouldn't be doing that. Well, but what you might do is leave your note open. And that happens on Supernote as well. And one of the keys with any of these devices is when you're done with what you're doing on a device, you need to close. And then that allows and triggers the sync. That being said, all under movements, the Supernote app for me has been flawless and fabulous. And I don't mean flawless as in there are no bugs, because there are. There are bugs in all of these platforms. There are things I wish it did better, but it makes me understand why the conflict file on the Supernote exists, because it allows you then to choose which of the two files to keep. And very rarely are they not the same when I go back and I check them, but occasionally they are. Occasionally one will have more information, or there'll be something that I wrote and it would have overwritten something else. And so I think they do that for a reason. It's a little annoying, no doubt, that I'm having to occasionally go through, much less than it used to be. I think last time I went through, after a few weeks, I had 7 conflict files that I just had to look at the note, look at the conflict file, and then keep the right one, and I was golden. So to me, the fact that that is the downside, but on the other side, what you get is full linking on your PC, on your phone, is amazing, really. And it's the same experience you're getting on the device. If I click a heading, if I click a hyperlink, if I click a link to another page or another document or another digest entry or any of that, if I do all of that on my PC or on my phone, it all works exactly the same as it does on the device. So hopefully that answers the question. I'm not saying that it's a perfect system or a perfect app. I'm saying that what it does really well. And I haven't run into a lot of the same issues that it sounds like that would happen. And then Aaron says, I think it overwrites when both tablets are open at the same time. Yeah, and maybe, Aaron, I don't know. I mean, I just watched David's video, which I thought was fabulous. And, the way he showed that functionality working, it didn't give you the option. And so I guess what maybe the point would be is when both of those sync, will it still do that? And I just don't know. Ben, that's a great question. And I don't know the answer to that. And I've only got a couple more minutes, folks, but I'm going to answer this question because I'm struggling really hard with this, Ben. And he says, is the new digest our Obsidian replacement? And I hope not. I mean, I don't want to say I hope not. I think that it could be. Again, I'm all about utility. I'm all about the way you use these systems, the way you use these devices, and how do they fit your workflow? I'm not a big fan of tailoring myself to the device, which is why my Obsidian workflow includes going through the community plugin and pulling all of my notes from the Supernote into that to do a lot of the linking. So a lot of the second brain piece, I do some of that on device, but now with these new tools, I really think that you could it's really close. You could almost do everything on device. I think once they crack kind of some of the digest functionality as far as being able to add multiple categories to a digest entry or being able to add, I don't even know. That was one of the big ones. Or multiple, or having authors populate, especially if you're in the same book, remembering that your author is your author. But if you're in an edited volume, it makes a ton of sense to have where that has to be manually edited. So I think there are some things that could be really interesting with the way they've implemented this. Now, what it can't do is also tie in all the stuff off device. And I think that's where Obsidian still has a place. The fact, though, that you can pull in Kindle, you can pull in Kobo, you can pull in web articles, you can OCR books from a library. All of that now can be done in the digest, which is really awesome. What you can't do is that on-the-fly linking as quickly as you can using Markdown in Obsidian. And Aaron says, it looks like it could replace your use case for Obsidian. The digest is amazing for second brain. Yes, absolutely, sir. You're 100% right as far as it being amazing for a second brain system. And again, if Obsidian has a lot more power and a lot more potential than that. And I also use it for my website and I use it for a lot of things. So I don't know that it'll replace everything. And there are plenty of things I can't do. And then there's the shareability. So that's the big thing with the Supernote app is right now, the digest, it's not like I can say, here, share this digest with all of its contextual information so that it's clickable like it is for me on the app with someone else. I can export it as a PDF. I can export it as text. I can do a bunch of stuff, but I can't really share it out in that seamless experience the way I could with Obsidian, if that makes sense. So if you look at my website, you'll see kind of what I'm getting at is I can do that. And then Aaron also says, especially with how you can use it with the app and the desktop app. Yeah. And what I would say is as a research tool, and I made this case in my video, there's not a better tablet on the market. The Note Max is probably a close second. And the thing that it's a close second is the size makes it just that much more attractive. For grading papers, Note Max, 100%. nothing comes close. I mean, there's nothing that for the tools you have, the density of tools, the ability to do all of the different things you want to do, nothing, absolutely nothing comes close to the Note Max for grading papers in the academic context. Or, quite frankly, if you are reviewing large PDFs all the time and having to mark those up and send back comments and feedback, because remember, yes, the Tab XC, which I don't have, has color, but you have color on the Note Max. So if you're marking it up, you don't have color on your display, but you still have those pen tools. So if you need multiple colors, if you need to be able to highlight in different colors and then share that out to somebody, you can still do that on the Note Max. The only difference is that what you're seeing as you're writing, as you're typing, as you're doing different things, is you're seeing the grayscale representation of that. So remember, a lot of people discount it because you can't see the color on the device. And that's where Boox kind of shines, is that you still get those colors. You just have to go ahead and select them, if that makes sense. So, I mean, to me, it's all about use and what you need to be able to do. And like I opened, I really don't have anything that I can say is, I guess my biggest thing is, I'm in a privileged position because I couldn't afford to go out and buy all of these devices, but I have a certain amount of expertise in different workplaces, disciplines, things that I do, that the manufacturers see fit to send me devices to review based on my knowledge and my, what you might call, expertise in those areas, whether it's change management, whether it's leadership, whether it's human resources, academics, retail, marketing. I don't have marketing, banking. So I don't have marketing skills, quite frankly. I was a realtor at one point. Marketing was not my strong suit. But the idea being that they send me these because they know I'm going to give an honest take, and they know that in frame of mind for me always is if you could only get one device, because that's where most people, I feel, are. Yes, people like me who are privileged to have the devices because they've been, sent to me, people who can afford to buy multiple devices, and there's no shade on anybody who can afford to buy multiple devices. I couldn't. I had to buy one device. That one device was the Supernote A5X. And that, to date, other than the MobiScribe Wave, is the only device I've purchased, and the terminal. I did buy the terminal. But that's not saying that, this is a hobby and it's something I enjoy. And I think these manufacturers know they'll get a fair assessment, but I know they aren't always sure or probably like what they hear. I was actually surprised Boox started me with a color tablet when that wasn't my preferred tablet. But you know what? They got an honest review out of it, and I've got Trey evaluating it now, and I'll probably come back to it here at some point as well, just to look at these devices. And Supernote probably isn't super happy that I sent away the Nomad, but I wasn't going to use it. For me, these devices need to be used. And the best thing you can do is figure out what your use case is. And that's by listening to people who put it through some paces, who have a specific use case, who talk about that, and who take the time to go through it. And to me, I don't care if you purchased the device, whether it was given to you, and as long as you disclose, I don't really even care if it was sponsored. But at the same time, what you're looking for as a consumer is to always go into those reviews and listen to what those biases are. I should disclose the only device I ever bought was the A5X, and I do. And so I use the Supernote as my daily driver and still do mostly, for almost 5 years. So for over 4.5 years. And so I have an affinity for that device because I bought it. I spent my own money for it. At the same time, if I had spent my money and bought the Go 10.3 or bought, if it had been available, the Note Max or Remarkable, I would have an affinity for that device. And so I think just recognizing that there are biases out there and that we all have them is really important. I have to hop off of here in just a second, but wanted to jump on, wanted to say hello. It had been a while since I'd been live. And, I just appreciate everybody's support in the community. And I appreciate us going over that 3,000 mark. We're approaching 3,300 now, and I'm approaching 500,000 views. Never would I have thought that I'd have hit 500,000 views when I started this thing. But, we're well over 490 and we're on our way. And probably within this week, we'll hit 500,000. And that's all due to you. The fact that I pop on here and I get 10 concurrent viewers at one time, I can't ask for more than that from this community. You all are just great. And hopefully this was helpful. I tried to give you a little sense of what I'm testing, what the actual environment I'm testing it in is, and what I see as coming up. I mean, I plan to use the Go 10.3 the rest of the week and maybe next week. I've also been, I've got the Allure Tech over there, which we'll have a video coming out on that soon, because Melissa's got it, she's got to get it hung in the right spot, and I got to get a few more videos out of it. But I really, really appreciate it. And then we've also got the reTerminal and the terminal. So there's a lot of things going on. But again, I can't thank you all enough. Aaron, thank you as always for the support, my friend. If you have any other questions, drop them in the comments. Please like, subscribe, check out my website, check out my blogs, check out the store that we launched with some merchandise. And we're just trying to do a few things and see what happens. But until next time, everybody, thank you so much, and I will talk to y'all soon. Just keep on moving forward. Bye now.